है कि जंगली पिक्चर्स की धमाकेदार फिल्म हक 7 नवंबर को यानी परसों रिलीज होने जा रही है। महिला के न्याय की लड़ाई पर आधारित इस फिल्म की एक्ट्रेस यामी गौतम ने हमसे खास बातचीत की। उन्होंने क्या कहा इस फिल्म को लेकर और पूरा किस तरह का रिस्पांस प्रीमियर में देखने को मिला और आगे क्या कुछ उनको लग रहा है, इस फिल्म से क्या उम्मीदें हैं, सब बातचीत हुई है। आइए सुन लेते हैं।
Thank you very much, Suparn. Thank you very much, Yami, for taking the time out and speaking to us here on ET Now. And congratulations to the two of you and the kind of response that this movie's trailer has been gathering. I remember I was sitting in the studio and it was playing right in front of me and I wanted more of it. You know, it is something that keeps you at the edge of your seat and you want to know what is going to happen next. Kudos to the kind of performance that you have pulled off in this movie and of course your direction as well. Let me begin with you, Yami. I mean, why did you choose this film at this point in time? Of course, you have delivered several hard-hitting performances, but why this movie in particular?
First of all, thank you for your kind words. I think you're really kind. The timing is never in an artist's hand. I can only choose from what I'm offered and at what point of time. That's beyond my liking or my control, right? And they say the saying in the industry that हर एक film की अपनी किस्मत होती है ना? So who's going to play what? That's also destiny. So, well, someone must have thought of this saying and maybe kind of, you know, it got very popular in the industry, right? ऐसे ही कहते हैं हर एक फिल्म की अपनी किस्मत थी, casting की अपनी destiny है. So so no complaints. All I can say is thank you, Suparn and Reshu. I still remember the evening that they'd come home and discuss the script, the subject with me. Of course, all the questions I said, okay, now once you're done discussing, which is that's my basic process. There's nothing complicated. I love reading the script. I'd love to read it. And as soon as I was done reading, I was absolutely convinced that this is something. I'm just fortunate to have gotten this opportunity, this massive opportunity to play the character that I got to portray. And here we are now, almost the edge of promotions and all over to you guys now in cinemas.
Right, it must have been a very hectic time for you as well. So you're crediting destiny, but Suparn, you know, what was it that made you decide that, you know, you want to make a film on this particular subject? And we've seen, you know, this entire narrative of realism getting into cinema. Of course, cinema has reflected the reality of a society of the times that we live in. But why this particular subject did you decide to make at this point in time?
So post Panda, I was looking for something as part of my courtroom trilogy, and this was a story that had been kind of coming back to me again and again for the last few years, till I realized that, and I deep dived into the subject matter, into you know, the inspirations that we took for creating the character and talking about the story of Haq. And it was a story of a woman who had been silenced for far too long, and she needed to be heard. And it was so endemic and fundamental to our society today, that the world we live in today, that this judgment, this Supreme Court judgment has impacted us and had such, you know, long, far-fetching results, that it's a story not many people know of. Neither do they know of the struggle and the intricacies revolving around it. And number two, I think it's high time we had a film like Haq coming out, which kind of talked about or make you kind of part of a community, which you have not seen for a while now. These stories, we have had, you know, Aurangzebs and Khiljis, and now finally we have a story which is a very, very Indian film that kind of goes out there and talks about the heart and matters of legality, which have kind of brought us to 2025.
Absolutely, and that must have been a very difficult process, filmmaking process, conceptualization process as well. And of course, it delivers a hard-hitting message so far as feminism and women's rights are concerned in this day and age. So Yami, when you were preparing for this film, what were some of the challenges that you faced? And give us an insight into how you really prepared. Because I was told by somebody that, you know, for a month, you followed method acting and you were into that, you know, character. You were walking and talking like the character of this movie. Tell us some insight as far as that is concerned.
It sounds only like Suparn saying all these things. Sounds nobody else than Suparn. I don't know how to break down my process into method acting or anything else. No, it's not like that. I think a lot of things are also a little exaggerated in, you know, in your PR language and all of that. But having said that, there's a lot of course, hard work that has gone in making and creating this character. And I don't think they can, sometimes it's so internal that I really I'm really zapped. I don't know what to answer. I don't know how to make it sound that, oh, I worked so much. it's before getting into the physicality, it's always understanding the character at an emotional level and connecting that wavelength. I think it's extremely important, and the other things follow that, right? It's not the other way around. And your script is the best source that you can get all information. A good script is what you need. So I keep reading it over and over and over and over again. And while, yes, the film is inspired by someone whose certain part of life has been in public domain, and yet having not met that person, how do I envision, how do I interpret that? So the idea was to go backwards. The idea was to go reverse. We all knew what had happened in the end. So all I was trying to think all this while, what kind of person would take that challenge, more than challenge actually, that courage. And I don't know how to define that strength, what it takes back in 70s and 80s to stand up against the system, to stand up for what you feel is right, and not be the oppressed. Sometimes out of oppression you create history, right? And I think this is where I connect my character.